Today on History's Tech, we are looking at a rather interesting and rather old piece of technology, the rocket artillery. Now, this piece of military tech has its origins as far back as the 10th century and has gone through multiple iterations and developments to get to where it is today. But let's go ahead and look at the origins and development of rocket artillery. Now, the origins of the rocket artillery actually go back to this weapon right here, which is known as the fire arrow. And this piece of technology from the 900s was a very early attempt at creating an arrow that was self propelled. Now, this device was propelled by a gunpowder rocket motor, and by all intents and accounts, it actually was utilized as a type of siege weapon. However, it was more of a psychological weapon than anything else, being utilized against an enemy to provide a method of terror. Now, as development continued, we'd see more improvements to the overall package. The Koreans developed what was known as the Hwacha, which was basically a cart that could carry hundreds of fire arrows and fire them simultaneously. Now, the next major change for rockets came in the form of metal cylinder rockets, like seen with the Mysorean rockets, and this had a multitude of improvements. By utilizing a metal case, they were now more weatherproof, and they could increase the amount of gunpowder contained within the device. So now they've increased its destructive power and range. Now, these devices were pretty successfully used from about the 16th to the 18th century, and they were utilized both for the psychological effects it had and its actual effectiveness as a weapon. Now, the next major development came in the form of the Congreve rocket in the late 1800s, and this was essentially an improvement upon the Mysorean rockets. And basically, what they did, this gentleman by the name of William Congreve took the design and he improved it. He started adding standardized formulas for the development of the gunpowder in it. He added better metal casings. He elongated his rockets so they could carry a larger payload. They were mounted on sticks to allow them to be launched from the sea at a greater range. He improved the payload overall by adding shrapnel to it. And so this became a standard weapon for the British Army starting in 1805. And it'll be utilized by the British several times throughout the 1800s. During the War of 1812, it's going to become responsible for the line The Rocket's Red Glare in the United States national anthem, written by Francis Scott Key, as he witnessed this event happening at Fort McHenry. It'll be utilized during the Napoleonic Wars occurring in Europe. It'll be utilized by the United States during the Mexican-American War. However, its usage as artillery will start to come to an end during the American Civil War, and it won't see another major conflict until World War II. However, during World War II, modern day rocket artillery really makes its emergence. We see it being used with the Germans and the Nebelwerfer family of rocket ordnance, the Soviet Katyusha series trucks, and we'll see rocket artillery continuously keep updating throughout the war. We'll see it being utilized as an additional weapon on tanks, like seen here with the T-34 Gallipoli or the T-40 Whiz-Bang. We'll see it be used to improve arguably one of the most fierce tanks ever developed, the Tiger I with the Storm Tiger, which utilized a 380 millimeter rocket mortar on it. We'll even see the development of the rocket ship. The United States Navy utilized the LSMR transport vehicles, and these were basically transports for landing on beaches that they had equipped with a large supply of rocket artillery. Now, by war's end, every side had utilized some form of rocket artillery, so the idea and the concept of rocket artillery was not going to be going away anytime soon. Now, post World War II, we started seeing a change in the development of the rocket artillery. And it was basically going two different directions. One, we were starting to see the development of larger and larger mobile rockets. Now, these were single rockets, mobile, either placed onto a chassis like an M113 or into an old Deuce and a half, and being utilized in different formats. However, as they got bigger and bigger, their purpose began to change, and they started to border more of a ballistic weapon. Instead, what we started to see was the development of multiple launch rocket systems. Like the old Soviet Katyusha trucks, these were designed to be mobile, self-propelled rocket artillery systems that could carry multiple rockets in one package. And as time progressed, we started to see improvements. By the time we get into the 1980s, these are no longer what would essentially be considered dumb weapons. They now have things such as global positioning, inertial navigational systems. They have the ability to be modified in flight for better usage. And we get to where they are now, where we started adding smart munitions, the ability to have variable warheads attached to them that can do multiple jobs. So even as technology advances and weapon systems change, in all likelihood, we're not going to see this weapon change in any time soon, other than continuous development of new technology. But there you have it, a quick look at the development of rocket artillery, a piece of tech that is literally over 1,000 years old and just has been continuously evolved and improved over the last millennia, which leads us to wonder, what does the next 1,000 years hold for this piece of technology? Will it be utilized in the future? More than likely, yes. But that's it for today. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you on the next time.